Okay, here we go with the Yo-Ho-Ho XV again. We are trying to actually graph these rational functions. So I think this is where deltamath really comes through, is the ability to get you to practice graphing these without the, I don't know, labor intensity of graphing it. Now on a test, you may have to graph it on paper, so keep that in mind, but this is pretty sweet. Yo-Ho-Ho XV, if you haven't seen that, I think you need to go back to the previous videos and take a look at it. So I'm going to skim over that so we can get to the graphing component. So here's an example of a problem, and I have factored this out, or somebody has factored it out because we know that the y-intercept, well, it's coming from over here. We know the horizontal asymptote is coming from these coefficients. If the degrees are the same, if the degrees are bottom heavy, then we're going to go y equals 0 on that. But this one, we're going to go y equals 1/2 using those leading coefficients. The holes are coming from these things that cancel these factors. We're going to take the 0 of that and plug that in and get a coordinate for that. The x-intercept is coming from the top here, and the vertical asymptote is coming from the bottom. We're going to get the zeros again of those and deal with that. So you've seen that in previous videos. If you haven't, you really need to go back and take a look at that. So Yo-Ho-Ho XV. My cool Santa here is pulling that off for us so that we can remember this crazy mathematical stuff. So here's a brief summary worth taking a look at. There's your y-intercept from over here. Because these degrees were the same, my horizontal asymptote is coming from y equals that. The holes coming over here where you cancel these out, get the 0, that's -2. Plug that -2 back in. The x-intercept is coming from the top here, and the vertical asymptote is coming from the 0 of the bottom. All right, and so here's a summary of those numbers that I got. I'm now going to shrink this down, and I'm going to go over to a live deltamath here and pop this on the top of that. Whoops, not that. Oh, come on. All right, so I'm going to pull this in a little bit just so I can remind myself of what I came up with. Ignore that good old scratch over there. All right, and so I've got that information. All right, so here we are in deltamath. How do we do this? We've done all that. Previous section, again, watch that video if you needed some detail, but this y-intercept, so here I click on the y-intercept, and shoot, I thought this was going to maintain it. There we go. Click on that y-intercept, and I get 0, 5. So I'm just going to move this to 0, 5. The horizontal asymptote was y equals 1/2. So I click on the horizontal asymptote. It gives me this dotted line here. And I move that down to y equals 1/2. I may not be able to get it exactly on there, but I should be approximate. Okay, well, I think I got it. And then the holes. So I click on hole, and I'm looking for -2, 1.4. So see this hole that it popped on there? I get to move it wherever it needs to go. -2. And then 1.4, 1 and just under 1/2. That looks about right. And then finally the x-intercept, 5, 0, 5, 0, puts it on the x-axis, so it has to be, there it is, 5, 0. And then finally the vertical asymptote is at x equals 1/2, so it gives me this vertical asymptote line, x equals 1/2. Man, I wish we had this on the test. Put that in there, and after all that, I get to click on plot rational function, and it's going to do that for me. Now, on a test, you're going to have to use the calculator and plug in into the table key some x values and get the y values and plot more on there and draw those lines yourself. But deltamath is going to give you a lot of practice finding these 5 critical features, and then I'm going to submit my answer. That'd be terrible if I got an X on this, but I got the green check mark, which means it is all good. And that was pretty cool. So I would practice some of that stuff, and then make sure you can also use your table key on your calculator to get other points on the graph so you can fill in where those lines actually are. Alrighty, kept that one nice and short.